Hello, you guys, and welcome back to the Culture and the Cross podcast, where we talk our church plant here in Raleigh, North Carolina, things that are going on in our church as seen on social media, and then questions that need answers. And we're your hosts. I'm Artra.
I'm Corey.
Yes, and also if you have been watching our podcast or listening to the podcast, like and subscribe and share it with your friends, so they can, I don't know, listen and enjoy it just the way that you do. Okay.
Right. Leave us a review.
Yeah, leave us a review as well.
On Apple, on Spotify, I think we're on iHeart, maybe something like that.
We're on all the things.
So leave us a review, share it with somebody. That way they can be blessed. Hallelujah. By the podcast as well. We appreciate it. And hopefully spread the word to some other people as well.
Yes. Okay. So let's dive into the happenings.
So the happenings. And
we do have an exciting happening, and that is Corey is no longer on the worship team.
My God, it's been a long time coming.
It has.
As we step into this September. So what happened was, as y'all know, I always talk about I'd be on the worship team, singing, be playing, be leading worship. We do have a worship leader who primarily leads everything up concerning the team, just for the sake of me helping out the musician and filling in and kind of stepping in when needed, as she kind of brings the team along. I've been playing the keyboard basically since we started, for the most part.
Yes,
there's been seasons where I wasn't. Like a good part of last year, I wasn't. But this year,
for a good part,
yeah, for a good long time I was playing. But this year, for the most of the year, I've been playing since about February. So I've been playing keyboard almost every Sunday. And listen, I love to play. I looked at my keyboards in the closet earlier. I was like, man, I need to practice. I've been getting a little rusty. So I love to play. Always led worship and all that. But this year in January, I wrote down. I said, this is the year that I'm going to step off of the worship team, right? And so leading the church as the lead pastor and leading worship, by God's grace, if I need to do both, I will do both, and I will sweat it out. I've been doing it for years. But I really was like, no, man, I really think our worship team is
they're good,
great, and they can
we
can
have
go.
Great worship leader.
Great worship leader. I think that they are not just capable, but more than able to carry the load, not just skill, but anointing as well. And so I wrote down in the beginning of the year, I said this year, and it was in January this year, I said this year I'm going to step off the worship team. And so we set a deadline. I didn't set a hard date, but I said this year. Yeah. And sure enough, man, starting, this Sunday, it was this past Sunday, I didn't sing, didn't lead worship.
How did you feel to actually just be able to stand and free, in worship and not be concerned about the notes that you're singing or playing, right. And
yeah, I think that, so really I don't really feel it, not that I don't feel it in the service, but I really feel it in the preparation.
Okay.
In rehearsal, I was at the last rehearsal only to rehearse because I'm stepping in for our worship night in a couple weeks on keyboard, but I won't be a regular Sunday worship member. So I was at rehearsal, but I really felt it there more so because I was just in my office and I was like, man, I'm in my office and they're practicing without me. This is amazing. And then I noticed it Sunday too when I was in my office. I get to church early, before everybody. I was in my office until the volunteer huddle. I didn't come out. I peeked my head out one time.
I didn't see you.
I was in my office the whole time. I was looking over my nose. I did a couple admin things.
Wow.
I was in the door.
How did you feel?
I was praying. I was looking over my message. I was, then I usually, I get this so early. I don't wear my clothes. I generally change my clothes when I get to church.
Yeah.
But it just felt like, and I heard them.
Did you had change again?
No, what do you mean changing it?
Well, you didn't have to do the rehearsals and stuff.
Yeah. So I had my change of clothes in there.
Oh, okay.
But I changed before I came out for the volunteer huddle. But I noticed I listened to. Obviously our church is not that big, so I can hear them. It's loud. I put my headphones in somewhere. I was like, I got to be able to focus. Yeah. So it was great. But I heard them rehearsing and practicing. That's where I really noticed the difference because I'm like, oh, I can take more time to maybe pray and go over my message.
You need to just jump out?
No, I didn't. As a musician, as a singer, as a musician, sometimes I want to just jump in just to be a part of it. Hey, let me sing a song with y'all, but
no,
they were doing great, man. I was like, no, Corey, you're good. Stay in your office. Don't come out.
They're doing good. They have good leadership.
So it was great.
We have a very good keyboardist. We have good singers, a good drummer. They're great.
Rocking out. So it was great. And it was great to just be able to
And our keyboardist sings too. So that's
So it was a lot of good singing and playing. It was good. So for me, it was good. I'm glad because, like I said, I think by God's grace, I've been able to do both as needed for a long time. And I will if I have to. But this year I just felt like, it's about time, to let some other people go for it. Not let them, but push them forward.
But that's how people grow.
You have
to get off of things so then they can grow.
Yeah.
So then they know, like, grow. This is my responsibility. This is mine.
Yeah. And listen, me being I'm not a micromanager. I wouldn't describe myself. I'm not a micromanager. No. But I am a little bit of a control freak.
I think both of us are a little bit.
So I mean, maybe you say I'm not. I think I'm a micromanager.
No, I wouldn't say that you're a micromanager. But I will say that
I could be a control freak.
We're both a little bit of a control freak. Yeah.
I want it done my way. I want it done my way. Yeah, I want you to do it, but I want you to do it my way.
Yeah, and I'm gonna check on you to make sure that you're doing it the way I'm asking you to do it.
That's how it is.
Because I know how I want it done.
Right.
So just do it the way I'm asking you to do it.
And
I only want you to do it your way if I've already seen you do it and it looks like it's done better than how I did it. But if not, then don't do that.
Right. If you do it your way and it flops, I'm going to be like, do it my way. Now, I done said do it my way. That is 1,000%.
Yeah, so
true.
I would not say that you and I both, we're not micromanagers.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to let you do it. But before you do it,
tell me how you going to do it.
How are you going to, like, I want you to do it, though, like this.
When it should be. Okay, you're gonna do it.
We're working on that.
The end product is Z. Now, how you get there, that's your responsibility.
But I will say too, like, but
in
that
an ethical, holy, and righteous way. Do
it.
But
that is a habit that we are trying to break. But I think after doing this for so long with just me and you, so we've done it our way, and I want you to just do it like this because we've been running it this far like this.
Yeah. So
just do it.
Yeah. Especially too when you feel like, well, doing it my way got me here.
It got me here. It got us to this point. So I want you to do it.
You know what I mean? By God's grace, it got us from me and my wife and our baby and my wife singing worship, holding my son, to where we are now. Not that we're blowing up, but God has been good to us. And he's been faithful and kept us. But just in a natural sense, as a leader, it's like, well, doing it my way got, it worked.
Yeah, but that's something that we're working on, which is why he needed to come off of the worship team so they can have the freedom. And not that they didn't have the freedom, but like.
Yeah, but even more so.
Yeah.
It's hard to have freedom when somebody
especially when the person's the pastor.
Yeah, and it's like, looking over the shoulder. And I wasn't looking over my shoulder, but it's just.
It's just different when you're trying to do a job and your supervisor's there.
Right there, looking all over.
It makes it's not. So, it feels awkward. So
yeah, and I know how I would feel if I was in that
I would
scenario.
be uncomfortable.
So I think that I think it's great, and I think this is a growth opportunity for all of us.
I think
for every single person involved, and I think it's great. So Sunday was great.
One day we'll be on here and we'll say, I didn't even tell them how I wanted it done.
Right. I'll keep my clothes down. But shout out to the worship team, man. You guys are doing a great job.
They sounded so good on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
it was so good.
But I mean, that just speaks to one, man. We could sit here and talk about this for the entire podcast, but just even to be at this point, knowing where we started at, it's just like, man, I'm not on the worship team. Like that thought was so far when we started this. It was like,
I don't think I even could see that far.
Yeah, right. It's fact, right. When we first started, I mean,
I couldn't even see that far.
First worship, I was like, man, I couldn't see this. I can see it in my heart, but it was like a heart. It was fuzzy. I was like,
but
that's
because we were like in the trenches.
Yeah, we still in
trying
the trenches,
to like.
We still in the trenches.
Our head has poked up a bit.
We still in the trenches. We're Rock Church. Come on, we get it out the mud, y'all. We get it out the mud.
Well, our head is poked up a bit, but before.
Let's keep our head in the trenches.
You know what I'm trying to say. Anyway.
But yeah, so it's a blessing, and it's growth for everybody involved. Our entire church, our leadership, myself, everything. It's very exciting.
I like to see it.
Yeah, it's good.
I love it. So, and I'm excited for you.
That's what's going on.
To be able to have the freedom to be a little flexible.
I'll play again next week for our worship night. I'm gonna play just because of the schedules. I just happen to have to play for that. But that's gonna be kind of a one-off, to be honest with you.
I saw on Sunday, like before service, you were even like talking to people, and I'm like, oh,
I know, right?
Look at you.
Listen,
being friendly before service.
I'll be friendly. I'm always friendly before service.
No, well,
it was different.
You are. It's just different it wasn't like I'm being friendly, but also like I can't really talk because now I have to make sure that like the keyboard, like I have so much on my mind.
I'm on the team. Like I have to be in the
I have different. So much on my mind. Like
I can't. I want
to
talk to everybody. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm like rushing them away or I want to. That's me. That's why I come in, shake everybody, like, hug everybody. Like that's always been from day one.
Yeah, but now
when I'm
you
like
can
in
do
the
it
midst of the team, I'm like, hey, I want to talk, but I kind of got to get over.
Right.
And play
So now we have
to
talk after service.
Yeah, and that's how we're trying to catch most people. But when I came out to this Sunday, I came out like, hey, y'all, what's up? It was just like,
but you were able to catch the ones that after service they like dip out real fast.
Right.
You can catch them now when they first come
good.
in.
So awesome.
It was great.
That's what's going on with us. Pray for us, Rock Church.
And I'm
if
excited.
you're a musician in Raleigh, hit me up. We need a bass player, guitar.
Okay. All right. So now, as seen on social media.
As seen.
Okay. So what I saw on the TikToks. I sound really old when I said that. What I saw.
Plural. That's actually
what I saw on TikTok was that a worker for the Wells Fargo Bank passed away at her desk, and it had been like 4 days or so before they realized that she was gone. And I honestly, when I saw it, I was like, that's not real. There's no way that's real. But then I actually there was an actual article from a reputable source that was like, yes, this is like real life.
Right.
And that's just insane.
It is. And she was found at her desk, right?
At her desk.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that, all these companies are like, you guys got to get back to work. You can't work from home because we don't know what you're doing. Meanwhile, this lady is at work and the girl done clocked out of life. And y'all didn't even know?
Right. For 4 days.
For 4 days?
That's basically Monday to Thursday. Ain't nobody know what happened.
Y'all, you didn't. So my thing's for the supervisor, where were you?
Yeah.
You didn't realize that one of your employees was not there?
Yeah.
You didn't even think to check?
Right. And she was in the office too.
She was in the office.
Yeah,
it wasn't like
building.
She was at home. She was at the office building.
Yeah. What did she do? What was her job?
I don't even know, because I just saw that part and was like, ain't no way.
Because I'm like, what was her job? And then two, I'm thinking where did you work at in the building where nobody noticed? Because I think I saw one part.
I don't know.
But it was one article was she worked in a part of the building that wasn't necessarily all that super busy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dang, did she work in just a cubicle, in the cut, the literal?
Possibly.
I mean, in the cut somewhere, which is crazy. Man.
I don't know. I think. I don't know that, but I still feel though the supervisor though.
Somebody should have known or seen.
Yeah, how did you not realize that? Hey, we haven't seen such and such in a really long time. I know they work kind of independently, but
yeah.
And haven't seen them.
And I wondered dang, what were the coworkers like? I wondered maybe she
I
didn't
don't
talk
know,
to them like
because
that.
when I'm at work, I'm quite extroverted, so I would have known.
But in your office though, people would know if
no,
you
but even in my last job, we were not always full together.
Yeah.
Even there were workers on different floors or
but
whatever.
Would have seen that.
I would have known, because I literally, honey, I take my walks.
Right.
And I just be talking to people.
Yeah.
And I'm at work somewhat a tad bit extroverted, and I'm talking to people.
Right.
So if I would have known if Joe has been gone for 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah. I
where are you? And I would have at my other job, I would have had someone get the key and open the door. Where are they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I work remotely.
They wouldn't know where you at.
Listen, for 4 days, I mean.
For 4 days, do you think that your supervisor? Because it's not like you guys talk.
I would get a call. Probably about that third day, I would get a call though. Maybe the second day.
I was gonna say probably.
He sent me email. if I don't respond that day, I can see well, I have kind of two supervisors right now. I don't think they would have, but that second day, I probably would get a call back in the day like, hey, what's going on? Like, you okay? But everybody has different jobs. But then too, I'd be thinking like, and maybe we don't know like if the family was looking for her, but I'm like, I always think it's sad because I'd be like, dang, like, where was like your family? Like, nobody like was looking for you to come home, and we don't know if it was the lady was.
Well, I don't know, but that just kind of made me sad.
Like, it, and I started to think about like who else was in this in her life, to like, man, no one like noticed like you weren't like around. Or, like,
I just feel like some ball was dropped somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay if you're not married, that's fine, but. There ain't no friends or kids or nobody at the club, nobody at church, nobody at the gym, nobody like noticed like, and maybe but it's probably one of those things where people just like, dang, I wonder what happened to, I haven't seen so and so, but you think about people and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll see them next week, like, because we do it all the time. You think about, dang, what happened to such and such, and it's just like, I don't even know. Maybe I'll call them in a couple days, whatever. We do it all the time. I'll call them tomorrow.
Oh, I definitely do.
And then tomorrow might have been the 5th day. You know what I mean? It's like, we would have known that the person's gone, man. That's great. Y'all, man, listen, I'm going to say this, man.
That's so sad.
Y'all better have some friends, man. Somebody
to
like,
check on you.
Especially, too, and I can see now, obviously, we're married. We live here with the kids. So if I don't come home in one day, something happened. You know what I mean?
I'm calling the police.
Right. So, and I get that's not everybody's story. But, man, even if you're if you're a single person or you live by yourself, man, I pray you got like somebody that's like on you. They check on you. You check in, like you call somebody.
That
somebody
they know
call you,
some of
family,
your like whereabouts
mama,
or
daddy,
something.
Auntie, somebody know where you at. And I can see, especially if you live by yourself or somebody, or you're a single person, young or old, and you don't maybe don't have people at the home that are like looking for you to come home per se. I definitely hope, man, you get somebody, because I really, when I heard that, I started to think about people like in your life, who people all in your life who may be looking for you or expecting you. That's what I started to think about. And I just hope you got somebody who can kind of help you, who can kind of, keep up with you. That way you don't have a situation where, you go on days on end. And it's just like these situations too, where you find these situations where people are like, they get found dead in like their apartment and stuff, and they've been there for like weeks or months, and they be like, it's sad,
my gosh. Man. And they only know because the neighbors are like, there's such a weird smell up there.
And it's like, they've been there for 2 months. And it's like, I'd be like, that's so sad to me, because like, man, where was your family?
I don't know, but I'm sure,
anybody, you know what I'm saying?
I'm sure Wells Fargo is going to incorporate some type of like check-in system or something. Because I mean, like, that's just kind of crazy to have an employee at your company.
I know.
Pass away in the office and no one knew about it for 4 days.
It's sad. It's really sad.
Only because the coworkers were like, it's a weird smell happening in there.
Man, but that show you how, like, man, listen, people be concerned about their own lives.
Also, that
shows, it's a weird smell at the office. I don't know. They'll fix it,
also, your coworkers are not your friends.
Listen, that's a whole other topic. I hope
they are coworkers. They are there just like you for that money.
Right.
And
I saw a post
go
about
home.
That recently of like, let's normalize, what people say that, but let's normalize using words like coworker, associate, colleague, whatever the case may be, and not just calling everybody, a friend. And so, yeah, man. So, make sure y'all got some people that's checking on y'all. All right.
Okay. So, questions that need answers. In today's questions, it says it's 2-part question. How do I know when it's time to leave the church I'm currently attending? And what is the right way to do it?
Great question. And there's always a right way, and there's always there generally comes a time. Most people don't stay at the same church over the course of their Christian walk,
they don't.
From salvation to whenever. Most people don't stay. And a lot of times that happens for different reasons. It could be job changes. It could be marriage.
A lot of different things.
Relocating to a different part of a city. If you live in a big city and, listen, you live somewhere like in Atlanta, it might be 45 minutes.
Just sometimes wanting something
else.
Else.
Just life changes, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I will give an example of this. I was a part of a campus ministry when I was in college. And I was one of the leaders in the ministry, was leading worship in the ministry, playing keyboard, as you can imagine, along with another young lady. And after being a part of the ministry, I had been a leader on the team for probably about a good year and a half or so.
Yes.
And I started to feel like towards one of those that end semester that it was time for me to step down from that ministry. And the thing is, I wasn't even leaving the school. I was still at the school for like another year. it was nothing. It was nothing bad. To this day, you know, I follow the leaders. I don't necessarily talk to them as much, but I follow the leader. He leads a church now. Love it. I've been to visit the church. So nothing bad was going on. They didn't do anything. It was just, I really just started to feel like, man, I think my time is up, you know, in this ministry. And so sure enough, by the end of that, you know, end of that semester, I sat down with the worship leader and then the primary leader of that time, of that ministry. I told him, hey man, I feel like, you know, God is leading me to step down. I think my season is up. It sounds spiritual, but I really feel like my season's up, you know, with this ministry. And they were understanding. He was understanding, you know, God bless. And man, we, you know what I mean, parted ways in a sense like that. And I went back to visit a few times over that and actually filled in to play a couple times, but never committed to like being a part of the ministry again. But I would say, so what happened was, that happened at the end of a school semester, so about May. Around that time, maybe like, I want to say maybe 3 weeks later, I don't even know if it was quite a month, not even a month later.
It wasn't a full month.
It was a full month later. I ended up, you know, I would go to these different concerts with like these groups of like worship bands, basically what it's called, that was in our city at the time. And probably like 2 or 3 weeks later, this guy, I went to a concert and he was there. He was singing with his like group of singers and band and all. He was ministering. And I remember I met him, exchanged numbers with him, didn't think nothing of it. Sure enough, he hit me up, you know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later and was like, yo, like, would you consider being a part of our band? Like, in their band, they would do like local shows and concerts and worship nights and all types of stuff. And would travel a little bit, you know, East Coast, a few things, North Carolina, you know, things like that, mostly in Virginia, 757 area. And I end up joining his ministry and being a part of his, like, his group for like the next 2 years. And end up doing, you know, before we got married, end up doing a live recording with them for a CD and everything.
Yeah.
And that ended up being that ended up being one of the best, a great musical experience for me, because I learned a lot about preparation and ministering with them and kind of moving around, a different way of doing ministry. But I would have never had the space to even commit to doing that with him if I had not stepped down when the Lord had told me to step down from the current ministry I was a part of. And I said all to say is that a lot of times, you know, when God is sometimes I would say when God is like leading you to step away from something, when you don't know why, you're like, man, I just feel like my season is up, and what else am I going to, you know? And it's like, there could be God is ready to open another door for you and another blessing for you and another opportunity, another assignment. But knowing that you're not going to be able to commit to that. If you're still in that, if you're still over there, you're not even going to see this opportunity because you're going to be like, well, no, I got to do this over here, you know, or I'm serving at this church, or we're part of, you know, this First Baptist in Raleigh or whatever. Yeah. And God is leading you to step away. And so I think that my first thing is saying that you got to be led by the Holy Spirit. That's really what it is, because that's where, in that experience for me, it was nobody, it was no person, it was no bad experience or trauma. It was literally just a feeling of the Holy Spirit leading me to say, now it's time to step away from that.
Yeah, and then I would say too, once you get that unction from the Holy Spirit and the Lord is leading you to, hey, it's time to go, you need to go.
Yeah.
Don't try and linger around or anything like that. Only because on the flip side of that, we know he was a worship pastor at a church, and the Lord had told him plenty of times, like, hey, it's time for you to go. You need to leave now. Right. You know, all of that. He didn't. He was, I guess, probably a little nervous to do the next thing that God has told him to do. Yeah, so he was like, oh, I don't know about leaving. He did not leave. He got fired. Right. From his position at that church. Yeah. And it was not a good experience at all. Right. It was, I wouldn't say toxic, but like,
I mean, it got, you know, towards the end, it got, you know,
it was tense.
Because it was, it got tense for
sure.
But
the Lord had told him to leave months and months and months ago.
I'm sure,
multiple opportunities. He did not leave.
Right.
He got fired
and ended up being fired, right? And
yes, or there's other instances where it's not a person that is in a leadership position, but they have gone to a church. The Lord told them to, hey, it's time to go. Now you are upset. You're leaving the church like angry, right? Yeah, and not moving when God says move. Yeah, that's the first thing. And it's like, I'm glad you said that too, because leaving when God says leave, even if you don't necessarily understand it, you know, but God knows where He's guiding you. You know, He knows where He needs you within His body, within His kingdom, and you got to move when He says move. The next part of the question though was, how do you do it? How do I do it the right way? And and listen, I'm always a proponent of, and we've always done this. I can't think of a situation where we just kind of rolled out like,
we just kind of rolled out. But one of the things I always advocate for is having a conversation with your leadership. And whatever your process is. So, for example, I've seen different churches. Different churches have different processes for like renouncing membership or things like that. I think that you should go through whatever that process is. If it's a formal, letter that you have to write to your church, write the letter and send that to the church. If it's a sit-down conversation with your pastor or with one of the deacons or one of the elders, I would say to the best that you are able, notify that church and let those leaders know that, hey, I'm going to be leaving. I'm going to be stepping away. And the thing is, I'm nosy, so I always want to know everything. I'm nosy, so I always want to be, why, whatever.
Okay?
But it's okay. It's okay for you to say, if this is truly the case. Now, if you don't be lying, but if you really feel like, I'm not quite sure, I feel like God is leading me to step away from this mission at the time. That's an acceptable response.
Yeah.
That's an acceptable answer because I want you to be led by the Holy Spirit. Anybody's be led by the Holy Spirit. But I think it always starts with a conversation. It's to the best you're able, a conversation with the leadership. If you can, sit down with your pastor, especially if you're in a situation where you have access to your pastor. If you're in a larger church where maybe multiple pastors or multiple people that handle that, do to the best, sit down with the people who are responsible, who've been tasked to watch over your soul for that season that you've been part of that ministry, and have a conversation. Let them know. If you're moving to a new city, let them, hey, I'm moving at the end of September. My last Sunday, I'm getting about it. Okay, man, give us. And I'll say from a pastor's perspective, give me the opportunity to bless you as you go. Give me the opportunity to at least say even thank you. Especially if you're someone, whether you've served or not, hey, thank you. If you've been here for 6 months, thank you for the time that you've been here. Like you could have chosen, especially in Raleigh, it's 1,000 churches in Raleigh. You could have been a member. Thank you for the time you've been here, right? And one of the things, I'll say this last, is one of the things we try to make a habit of doing is that when people are leaving our church and they have that conversation with us to the best that we can, we try to have an opportunity to pray over them and say, hey guys, this is Joe or Billy's last Sunday. Man, Billy's been a part of our church for the last year. Man, we want to thank God for allowing Billy to be here for this last, and Billy served in the kids ministry or whatever. Hey, can we just pray over Billy that God would bless them wherever God sends them, that God would continue to bless them and watch over them? So we want that opportunity to do that because we want to establish a healthy culture of coming and going, right? Yeah. We want to be glad you came, but we also want to bless you as you go as well.
So what if the person is not like serving anywhere? They just kind of like
just kind of around.
Yeah, they're just kind of around.
I think that even if you weren't serving, I think it's worth the conversation still. To say, hey, pastor. I think that I remember one time. Someone left, and I don't think they ever served anywhere. But they came in one Sunday and said, hey, this is my last Sunday. I'm going back to my other church. All right. Like, it was literally right after church.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, pastor, I got back, man. This is my last. I've really been feeling, but they were like, I really feel like I miss my old church.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I respect that. Like, thank you for telling me. They rolled out. I've seen them maybe a handful of times since, around. But like, it was like, okay, they ain't scheduled a meeting. But even that for me was like, hey, you know what? I always tell people, hey, thank you for letting me know. That way I'm not wondering. That way 3 months don't go by. And I'm like, oh man, what happened to Billy? And it's like, oh, Billy went back to. It's like, oh man, well, I would have liked to know that.
Do you think that people just don't tell their pastors that they're leaving because they're like, oh, they just don't care?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that especially too in like probably it's not as much the case. Well, it could be the case in our church. Our church is not massive, but I could see how like in a very large scenario where it's maybe hundreds of people, thousands of people, you could probably think like, I don't think anybody's going to miss me like creeping in the back, whatever the case would be.
That was always my thought process. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but I
would go to big churches and be like, now I'm going to leave.
But mostly generally, if you've been coming regularly, and what I mean by regular, like, if you go to church a couple times a month, people generally start to see who you are. Like, they don't know your name. They start to see you. Hopefully. Prayerfully, yeah. But most of the time, it may not be always the pastor, because if you're in a large church, it may not be the pastor see you, but that person that greets at the door most weeks, they probably see you.
Or if you have children, the children's ministry workers like, oh, I have not
you're such and such. Oh, that's your daughter. They might even know your name, but people start to notice you. And hopefully in a healthy church, people start to actually get to know you. And even if you're not serving or whatever, even if you're just there and you're part of some part of the ministry, people generally know. So you may not be, let's say, it may not be the pastor may not know you, but if you're part of a ministry, if you're serving on a music team or you're serving in the kids or you're serving in a parking lot, hopefully within that church, there are people who are over those ministries that they know you and
Yeah,
they're aware of
very
who you are.
true.
You know, have a conversation with the parking lot team leader that you've been serving on for the last 3 months. Like they want to know that, you know, you're not going to be there, or whatever the case may be, or with the kids ministry or with the admin team.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I think that in a healthy church, people do know you. And if they don't know you, they may not know you, they may not know your life, but they generally see you.
Yeah, they notice when you're not there.
And notice your face, right? And see, because then when you're not there, be like, oh man, you know, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, hopefully, in a healthy scenario. Now, and we're always talking about this. We're talking about this from a healthy perspective. You know, there's, in a healthy church, you should have those conversations. You know, as best you're able, because I think the church will miss you when you're not there. They'll notice when you're not there. And as I always say too, you know, you may be asking too, well, do I need like the pastor's permission, or do I need the leader's permission to leave a church? You don't need anybody's permission.
Not permission.
Like, it's not permission. We're always advocating for a conversation,
a
notification or something like that. You know, and just
I feel like
letting people
asking
know.
for permission is kind of getting a little.
Yeah, I don't think you don't need anybody's
almost a
permission,
little
because I didn't, you don't need anybody's permission to leave go to a new ministry.
No, once
But
the Lord
definitely a
tells you it's
conversation.
time to go, that's all.
Yeah, and do your best to do it well. Like if God tells you it's time to go, you know, let's say you're responsible for something, you know, like, you know, maybe try it as best you can, you know, maybe give them a little runway, maybe let them know, hey, this will be my last month, you know, to maybe give them an opportunity to find another person to step into that spot or whatever. If it's something that you're doing, right? We're talking about just from a practical perspective. Like if you're, you know, you're one of the kids ministry workers and whatever the case may be, it might be a good idea to be like, hey, you know, my last Sunday is going to be into September. Like, I know I'm giving you a little opportunity to maybe find another kids ministry worker or another greeter or whatever the case may be. A lot of it, man, is just about kind of like a little bit of honor and respect. Just kind of honoring the house and, you know, letting them know, and then give people a little notice. Now, listen, if you got to leave, hey, like I said, if you got to leave, this my last Sunday, you know, I understand,
That's fine.
I understand, but to the best that you can, you know, in a healthy scenario, you know, try and give some type of notice and let people know. That way they know that, hey, I'm not that you're not responsible, but in really, I'm not responsible for this person's soul. Like, this person's going to be under another leader, another shepherd. So though I may pray for them when the Lord reminds me of them, like, you know, I'm not going to be tracking everything they're doing, because they're now not necessarily my responsibility once they have been released from this ministry, you know. And so I try and think about those things as well. So, Rock Church, now I don't want to see none of y'all on Sunday. Be like, Pastor, I heard the podcast. You know, I've been waiting 6 weeks to tell you this. You know, if God really told you that, then I would gladly accept your, you know, removal. But, you know, if God ain't tell you now, we're gonna see all y'all there on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep.
That's that, y'all.
So we'll see you guys on Sunday, and
By God's grace, we baptizing on Sunday.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about that. The weather is still nice enough to baptize outside, so we're excited about that. And so we hope to see y'all there this Sunday, 10 a.m. If you're in Raleigh, North Carolina, join us at the Rock Church, 240 Newton Road, Suite 103. We are there for 4 more months, and we are moving. My God, it's September. We are moving at the end of this year. So we're very excited. I'm going to come up here with the keys very soon by God's grace. And we hope to see y'all there and beyond.
Oh, yeah. And then also, if you guys have any more questions,
they need answers.
Yes, we need to fill our mailbox back up, our DMs back up, then send them to us so we can answer them and, you know, just help.
DM us on Instagram. Send us an email at thecultureandthecross@gmail.com.
Yeah. Or even put them in the comments. But, like, share, subscribe. All right. See you Sunday.
See y'all. Peace.